I think at that point, all I was thinking is, okay, I need to get the visa. I need to get the visa. Once I get the visa, I'll be allowed in the US. Once I'm allowed in the US, I'll just be unstoppable. Like it doesn't matter what's happened next. You know, I'm already in the US. I'm already at Colombia. I don't care about the rest of the details of what's happening, right?
When I was 18, I got admission to some of the top universities around the world, and I really wanted to pursue my master's and my MBA. However, I couldn't afford the exorbitant fees that these universities charge, so I had to let go of my dream and get a job instead and rise to the corporate rank to get to where I am today. However, when I saw one LinkedIn post from this kid in Spain, Ivan, it brought me right back to those days. And I heard his story and it felt just like my story, and I wanted to help him. This is a story of how I helped Ivan, a bright kid from Spain, get to Columbia University.
So I was born in Madrid. I was raised by my mom. I was always interested about acting and like performances. So I did some stuff at Disney Channel when I was little back in Spain. I decided to go abroad because, you know, I was looking for better opportunities and stuff like that. So I went to study abroad in Manchester. And that's where, you know, I tried to hustle and I discovered like a new world. After that, I finished my master's, I finished my undergrad, and I went to my master's at Columbia. And now I'm at Microsoft. That's kind of the story. My dream was always to go to Silicon Valley. So I took the first train I got to London, and I stood up in the office of Google saying that I wanted to get an interview, that, you know, I want to do products, I want to build stuff, I've got the skills, I've got the acting, I've got the communication. After that, people at Google offer me like a few interviews for roles, but you know, things just get messed up and things go different places. And now I'm here at Microsoft doing my best and like kind of living the dream of building products in this kind of tech companies.
So Ivan and I have known each other for almost a year and a half or so. And I'd like for him to first tell the story in his own words. With that said, Ivan, why don't you go ahead and talk about what you were doing in Spain and London and how did we end up being where we are?
So yeah, I mean, I started in Spain. I grew up there my entire life. Then I went to study in the UK, my undergrad. And it was my third year. My final year, I was trying to get a good internship. So I decided to take a train to London from Manchester and just stand up in the office, in front of the office of Google with a cardboard saying, okay, I'm Ivan, I'm doing product, I've done acting before, I'm doing physics. I want an interview for my internship. And I printed 40 of my CVs on one side and on the other side like a motivational quote. And then I stood there the entire day. I had some people try to kick me out, but in the end I was right, I could be there, and I talked to many different people. And I decided to post that on LinkedIn. And when I did that, it blew up, and like millions of people looked at that post and many people commented, and then Sanchan reached out. And then I remember being on my LinkedIn and seeing a message from Sanchan. And then I see that, you know, he's a VP at Coinbase and he's got all this experience in product, which I was just getting started into it. And I was very excited. So I was like, of course, Sanchan, let's please have a chat. And then after that, I applied to Columbia, my master's, and I had two problems. First one, get accepted, and second one, get like money to fund the university. I got accepted, and then I was desperately looking for funding. So I reached out to Sanchan as a like last chance, because even banks were denying my loans. So I told Sanchan, like, Sanchan, I'm looking for funding. I'm very embarrassed to ask this to you, but you know, I'd love to see if we could chat. And you were like, yeah, I'm happy to help. Like, he didn't even doubt it for 1 second. And then we talked and he decided to fund my studies. And since then, we've just been talking about my experiences at Columbia and now at Microsoft and all over the place where I've been.
One thing you didn't mention is that you cannot get a visa to come to do a master's in America if you cannot prove that you have source of funds to fund it. So he needed to get a visa. But why don't you tell them about your story, like personal story as well, like where do you, like about your parents, why you couldn't find funding?
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up in like in a very humble family in Madrid, and like even when I moved to Manchester, it was a huge effort, even though the university was already paid, and I had to like find different jobs part-time and stuff to fund my studies and my living in the UK. And yeah, then I had this problem of like trying to get the funding, but also to get the loans from banks, you need to, you know, show that your parents be able to pay it, because I was very young at the time and you couldn't really get a loan for myself. So I was just getting denied from everywhere.
In order to get a loan from bank, they need a collateral. They need to know that your parents can be the guarantor and others. And when those situations don't happen, you can't get a loan. And then you came to Columbia. Tell us, how did you get into Microsoft?
Yeah, so then I was just working at Columbia doing different stuff, entrepreneurship and building different products. I spoke to some people at Microsoft who gave me a referral. They were also impressed by, you know, looking at what I did standing in Google's office. I knew them from that post as well. And then I just did like 4 interviews with them. And after the 4 interviews, they gave me an offer in November, which I was very scared that I would get rescinded because of the layoffs and stuff. But then it ended up happening, and here I am and at Microsoft office right now. This year, I tried to get into different companies, like try to get different startups, create like new products. by myself, and it always failed because we figure out that, with this AI revolution, we tried to do something, but then other people had already built it. That was probably like a big failure that happened. Then just staying in New York, I remember it was a huge problem because on top of having the visa, then to get a house in New York, you also need a guarantor. You need to pay extra fees for a bunch of different things, and we had some problems with the housing. Actually, we couldn't get our house for like 2 weeks, and I had to be staying sharing like a bed in an apartment in the Bronx in New York. And actually, that was quite scary to being there. But then actually, we managed to get a place in the end. And then, things started to roll off, and we started to meet people, and, started to do different things. Became like the VP of entrepreneurship in one of the Columbia clubs of engineering and all sorts of things.
There are many questions that come to mind that I've never met Ivan in my life. I don't even know where he's from. I don't know what his background is. He'll come up to the US, he'll do some silly things, and my name will be ruined because he'll do some silly things. Those obviously are questions that come to mind. But I think what happened was when I was his age, I was actually trying to get into a master's and an MBA program in America as well. I had a very similar situation where my parents couldn't afford the education. They couldn't guarantee a bank loan. So everybody rejected me, and I couldn't get the visa because unless you don't prove that you have the financial proof to support yourself, you're not going to get the visa, even though I had admission offers from some of the best universities in America. They all gave me the admission offers, but I just couldn't secure the funds to get the visa and come to America and be able to pay for that. So when his story came out, I felt it resonated me based on what I had gone through. And it just felt like, okay, why don't I, now that I'm in a position, I can pay it forward. And then one day, Ivan can pay it forward.
I mean, it was truly magical because you can't really, now I'm just getting back to those times in which I was very pressured because I was getting in a lot of trouble because I already did all in into going to America, but I didn't have any of the money. And I already paid a deposit, which was $4,000, which was pretty much all the money I had. And I put into the deposit I could not get back. And it just felt magical because I tried every single option I had and all of them failed. And then Sanchan just came and he did that, and I couldn't believe it. And I talked to my mom and she thought it was not possible, that she couldn't believe that someone could ever do something like that. So when it actually happened, I just felt like I was blessed. It was kind of a magical situation. I was just chosen for something like that to happen, and everything just clicked. It was okay, I made this all in. So, and I just felt, super, super grateful for Sanchan. It kind of made me believe that people like that existed that could do something like that to someone who pretty much didn't know even at all.
Now that you are in Colombia, Ivan, how has been the experience so far?
I think Colombia is a very special university, particularly because it's part of the Ivy League. Everything is very imperial. Everyone is super smart and everyone's hustling, and you see people in the libraries doing very, interesting stuff from different things, from just very smart people in pure mathematics, some people just building amazing stuff or doing research on different stuff. So I just spend most of the time in the library. I spend I'll wake up at 8, I just have some breakfast at home, make my lunch, and then I'll go to the uni. I'll take some classes, but then I'll spend most of the day at the library. Then I'll go to the university gym, which was free as well. But at the same time, I was with friends all the time, so it was a lot of fun. I loved it there. I feel also I had a friend from the UK. He was also there, and we were both into entrepreneurship. So, it's always been amazing, meeting all these people from all different backgrounds.
The number one thing was hustle. I saw Ivan go to Google campus, not have any shame, not have any other issues, and just stand in front of them and say, hey, I know I'm good. Give me a chance. Give me a job, or an internship. Now that hustle is what matters to me. I don't care how many years of experience you have, what school you went to, etc. What I care for is, do you have the hustle to do whatever it takes to succeed? And that's what I saw him. And I saw that he did entrepreneurship. He tried to build different products. Some of them failed. He learned a lot from it. And that hustle is what made me believe that if I invest in him, he's going to go on to do amazing things in life because that hustle will see him through. And this is the post I remember seeing in my LinkedIn. This post had a tremendous amount of engagement, 5 million impressions. This post showed up in my LinkedIn because it was meant to be. I was meant to know Ivan from Spain. I was meant to know this story, and I was meant to help him on his journey ahead. So Ivan, you're pretty much coming close to the end of the master's program. What are your visions? What are your goals of what you want to do next?
I think I really enjoyed this internship at Microsoft. I think I'll probably, if I get the chance, I'd love to come back here, spend a few years here, just learn a lot from, state-of-the-art AI and all these things that are changing super rapidly right now. And then, hopefully in the future, I could, use some of these learnings to create my own thing and follow the dream, of like the pain and following, all this hassle that I've been going through.
Ivan offered me the ability to have equity in his future earnings so he can repay my sponsorship for him. I decided not to do that because I told him, let's do this instead. Let's have you complete your master's, get a great job, or start a new company, and then sponsor the next kid who comes along, who wants to go to Columbia, who wants to do his master's or an MBA program from around the world, and let's pay it forward together.
But yeah, I think at that point, all I was thinking is, okay, I need to get the visa. Once I get the visa, I'll be allowed in the US. Once I'm allowed in the US, I'll just be unstoppable. Like it doesn't matter what's happened next. I'm already in the US. I'm already at Colombia. So yeah, once I got the visa in my hands, which was also quite difficult to get because I was working in Switzerland. My passport was just expired, so I had to go to Spain, but my visa appointment was in London. And all this, I was working in Switzerland. So it was quite a mess, but once I made that happen and everything just got sorted, it was just a relief. It was like, okay, I can breathe now. I can focus. Because I think the worst part is that I was working, I was doing different stuff, but I was never focused on what I had to do. I was always with, in the radar, a lot of things that I had to do. I remember that, like, just getting the admissions and just me being like happy with all my friends. Like, we all celebrated, we went to have dinner, but then I was sad again because I realized I had to get the money. And then once this happened, then I was back and I was happy again. I was like, oh, I get it now. And then, I had to sort out the visa, and then it was sad, but then I got my visa in my hands and it was like, okay, this is relief and I could just focus again. And that was like, the state of mind at the time.
So Ivan, you studied physics in undergrad. You come from Spain. You come from a very different background where nobody else is an engineer or a data scientist or trying to work on the cutting edge of technology. How does it feel today to sit at Microsoft, work on the cutting edge of AI, and comparing that to where you started?
I don't know. I think like I was never really guided towards a specific goal. I think I was just curious, and that's why I chose physics. And it didn't make sense at the time. Like, I was not expecting any of this to happen. But I think now when you put all the dots together backwards, it kind of makes sense because I was just curious to learn. And physics teach you all that, but now just being at Microsoft, which seems to be like the company winning the AI race at the moment, and not only that, but also working on AI at Microsoft. So here at Microsoft, I'm just working very hard to get my project forward and get like a prototype that I can show and my VPs and CVPs and make them excited about it so they can give me a return offer as well.
I truly believe that if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Tell him what you precisely want to do. Develop a precise plan, and he will laugh because he'll tell you there's a bigger, grander plan that you can ever imagine. If you look at the story of Ivan, you can see that where he started versus where he is completely not planned. Things happened to him because he was curious, because he was hustling through things, and he had a goal in mind, a vision in mind of what he wanted to do, but he was very flexible on the details of how he gets there. And over time, things magically started to manifest for him and got him to where he is today. And this is how one LinkedIn post got me to spend $100,000 on a bright kid from Spain. But the story hasn't ended. Ivan is on an incredible journey ahead, and I cannot wait to see him do amazing things in his career and build an amazing company in Silicon Valley and solve many of the world's problems ahead. And this journey for Ivan has just started. He's only 22. He has a bright future ahead of him. And I'm very confident that he's going to solve amazing problems in this world and build an incredible career, a successful one ahead of him.